The most important thing for you to remember is how to breathe correctly, because the agents now are perfecting the art of holding their breath. They are clamping down on their jaw. They are sucking their cheeks in, and they're lowering their chin so that it is smashed down on their chest. They're doing whatever they could do while connected to you to prevent you from breathing correctly. So when you try to get the implants out of your legs, the most important thing you could do is relax and focus on breathing correctly. Furthermore, the military is freezing the implants. They are reversing the energy onto the agents while they are connected to you. So your jaw, your neck, your cerebellum, and your shoulders all become extremely rigid. So it is very difficult to take a deep breath if you're not focusing on doing that. So you have to focus on taking a full, deep breath. So let's go over that one more time. So when it may be difficult to breathe, you want to imagine the air going down your back, going down your spine. When you go to take a breath, you want to breathe up and down your spine. So as you are inhaling, you are imagining the air gently going down the back of your spine, like an elevator, starting at the base of your neck and going all the way down until you cannot inhale anymore. At that point, you should imagine it being all the way down to your sacrum and base chakra point. At that point, you momentarily lift with your tongue. It should be something gentle. If you put strain on your tongue, it's not going to be as effective as if you do it gently. So just raise up with a momentary sucking mechanism with your tongue. And then you want to focus, exhaling all of the way. So you imagine the elevator going back up your spine, up to the top of your skull, where your crown chakra point is. And as you are exhaling, you want to exhale until you cannot exhale anymore. And you want to put your focus on pressing the air up through your crown chakra point. So you will feel a little pressure when you exhale all the way out, pushing the energy out through the top of your head. So you will exhale until you cannot exhale anymore. So what these agents are doing is they are holding their breath, and this prevents you from exhaling all of the way. And so the energy, the plasma, is not moving out as much as it would as when you breathe correctly. Inhaling all of the way and then exhaling all of the way. So there is an exercise that you could do to really sense the energy moving through you. And that is to get into the bathtub. You fill the bathtub up with water and you get into the bathtub and you lie flat on your back with your knees up so that your head is halfway submerged in the water. You want the water to be above your ears. Then you could focus on your breath and you could hear your breath better than ever before. So you breathe all the way in, imagining the air going all the way down your spine to your sacral and base chakra points. Then you lift, and I want you to focus on exhaling all of the way out. I want you to push the air all of the way out, focusing on putting pressure on the top of your head. And you will hear the sound of the plasma energy coursing through your chakra system. And you will see what I mean when I say that you have to exhale all of the way, because that will often be when you sense the energy leaving the top of your head, leaving your crown chakra the fullest. So if you do not breathe correctly, it's going to be harder to get these implants and the energy out of your legs and lower body. So I have been trying to perfect what I know about removing implants out of your legs for about 2 years now. But there has always been new problems, which is why it took a little bit before I perfected this method. So that is why it's taken a little while before I was comfortable about publishing this information, because there was always another problem. So it took a couple of years before these methods had been perfected. So there are a few new exercises that you need to learn to get the implants out of your legs. And so what they were doing is bringing thousands of military agents into this area, and they rotate these people in and out of here. And all of them have leg problems. They have hip and knee replacements. They have broken legs with plates, rods, and pins in their bones. They have obese people with joint problems, with knee problems. And they are so fat that their legs bow out. They have blood clots. So they've undergone surgery where medical balloons are installed in their veins and arteries, so they connect these different people to you. And as you all know from watching this series, when they connect an agent to you, they are attempting to form an implant in you in the same area as where the connected agent has their implant. So if they have an implant in their right calf, that is where you are going to develop yours, unless you involve a strict exercise, yoga, and meditation program to remove these implants. So they are attaching hundreds of people to me a week, and at the end of the week, they find out who still has their implant, and that is who they're going to keep around as your new buddy. If you get the implants out, these wonderful agents go about their merry way. They get back on their airplane and they go back to wherever they came from. But if the implants remain in these agents, the military sees that you are having a problem lifting those implants, and they're beginning to form in you. So that is what they're looking for, and that is who they're going to move in right next door to you, right into the condo complex down the street from your house. So there are any number of areas in your legs where you can develop these implants. If someone has broken their leg, they're going to have an implant wherever their bone was broken. All it takes is the military connecting somebody to you with an injury in that area and you not doing anything about it. That and bombarding you with this radio frequency energy will cause these implants or tumors to grow in you. So they find out that the legs are an easy place to get these implants to form, because oftentimes it is difficult to apply weight to certain parts of your legs, especially in your calves on the outer side of your lower legs. That is where they're building up the most. So big fat agents with bow legs and damaged knees is exactly what the military is looking for. This is the way they plan on controlling people in the future. If you could get them out of your chest and your neck and your head and not fall underneath their control, they will move in thousands of handicapped people with joint and leg problems and attempt to handicap you next. This is what your military is interested in doing. Anything it takes to roboticize and control you through mind and soma control. So let me go through the positions as I learned them to relieve the pressure that I was experiencing on my legs. Eventually it was easy to get the implants out of my upper body. So they began to attack my legs. So the first thing I did was the elevated prone position. which I explained in part 3 of this series. So, in the elevated prone position, you have your knees up underneath your torso. Your knees and your upper thighs are up against your chest, and you are putting pressure on your calves, your ankles, and your feet. So you can do this either on a mattress or on a hard surface, like an exercise mat or just a blanket on the floor. So you want to do it both ways. I think on the mattress, it is easier to put pressure onto your ankles because the mattress will bend while the floor is rigid. So you can experiment with different angles and different positions to put your legs in when you are in an elevated prone position. So what that means is that you could bring one of your legs up so that it is underneath your other one, so that your legs form a cross or an X, and you could use one of your legs to put pressure onto your ankle or onto your foot or onto your calf. And that may be easier to do on a mattress that gives way and may be a little bit more comfortable. You could also turn your ankles out so that your toes are not pointed in, but they are pointed out. So that may be hard for some of you to do, especially if you're not limber. So you want to work on doing that. And it sometimes helps to take a pillow or two and put those between your legs. And it takes your full body weight off of your ankles and your calves a little bit by raising you up a little bit. So you could try doing that on a mattress, and you could try doing that on the floor. And once again, since the implants will vary depending on who you have attached to you, you are going to have to try many different positions on the floor and on a mattress to figure out what angle works best with what you are trying to remove. So practice moving your legs around in many different positions. Come up with new ones. Whatever will be best to stretch and bend your legs and put pressure on different areas of your bones and joints. So try to come up with a few on your own. So when you are breathing from an elevated prone position, the agents will often make it very difficult to breathe. So the most important thing that you could do while in an elevated prone position is focus on breathing correctly. Breathing all the way in until you cannot breathe anymore. And then exhaling all of the way out. Focusing on breathing up and out the top of your head. When you have the weight, your body weight on your chest, it'll be a challenge to do. So practice breathing up and down your spine. You can move your hips out so they are to the side of your chest, if that makes it easier. You can also put your chest onto the floor, and that way you can put pressure onto your chest and your forehead and push back on the implants that an agent may be using against you. So in the elevated prone position, you could put weight on your legs by keeping a couple of pillows underneath your head so that your body is not fully against the surface. Or you could take those pillows away and press your chest and your head against the surface. If you are having trouble with implants in your chest or in your skull, you're going to want to press back on those implants in your upper body if an agent is making it difficult on you to stay in the elevated prone position. So that is why I say sometimes it is easier on a mattress, while other times it'll be easier on the floor. So get used to doing both. In any regard, you want to breathe all the way in. That is the only way this position is going to work. If you only breathe in halfway, it is not going to reach these implants. So you want to focus on breathing all the way in Focus on the air traveling all the way down your spine to your sacral or base chakra point, and then lifting from that area. If they are freezing implants and it feels like very little plasma is coursing through you, the best thing that you can do is lift from your sacral chakra point. That is where all these implants form the most. All of the agents connected to you will have these implants formed in their sacral chakra point, and that will be connected to implants in their legs. That implant in your sacrum or in these agents' sacrum will be like a nerve center that wants to read all the pain coming from the implants in their legs. The implant in their sacrum is where all the other implants will be connected to from their lower body. It's like a spider web of nerves. It's like a spider web of implants. And the worst one is going to be right there in your sacrum. The military instructs these people on how to get these implants to form right in their sacrum. And once they get an implant to form in their sacrum, it spreads out. It branches out like a web of synthetic nerves. And it goes through their hips and down their bones into their feet. So if you're having a difficult time pulling implants out of your legs, focus on breathing in deep and lifting from your sacrum, and the worst eventually should come out. At other times, you'll be connected to somebody who is not fighting you. The implants will not seem so rigid. They will not be reversing the energy so much onto the agents who are connected to you. It'll be more aimed toward you, and you will feel an implant, kind of like a balloon or a cushion of plasma in certain areas on your leg that you could put pressure on. And as you lift, you could feel them give way and reduce in mass. A common place for the implants to form in your calf is on the outer side of your calf, on the side of your calf, right around the area where your calf muscle ends. That is a common place. I'm going to guess due to obese people being connected to us whose legs begin to bow out right around that area, right underneath their calf muscle, right on the side where the bone warps out. If you want to look up the muscles on your lower leg, the tibialis anterior, the exterior digitorum longus, and the peroneus longus are often affected. But the implants will also affect your tendons and can be placed anywhere on your leg. So I experience a lot of problems on the side of my calf, on all of those muscles, and quite often it is right on the side of my calf, right where the bulk of the calf muscle ends, and it becomes more bone. But that has been a challenge because it is very hard to put pressure on the outside of your lower calf. So the next position that relieves lower leg and calf implants is what you can call the angel position or a catcher's position. And in fact, I learned this one from playing softball with my daughter. She is a pitcher and she was practicing pitching. So I would often play catcher for her for about a half hour or 45 minutes usually. And what I found is that after doing that, it would relieve a lot of the pain, a lot of the implants in my lower legs and in my calves. So of course, when you get into an angel position or a catcher's position, the back of your hips are resting on the backs of your calves and lower legs, and you are putting all of your weight on the front of your foot, and your heels are both elevated, and all of your weight is resting on your toes and the front pads of your feet. And unless you're used to doing that, you are going to quickly feel a burning sensation on your calves. You're going to feel them heat up. So try to stay on your calves at least until you begin to feel that burning sensation, and then try to stay on them for as long as you can. And when you cannot bear that anymore, you could either stand up or you could stretch one leg out to relieve pressure on that one leg. And then after 30 seconds or a minute, bring that leg in and extend the other. You could also go to your knees and put pressure on the backs of your calves. Or you can also stretch periodically, getting out of the angel position, getting out of the catcher's position, sitting on your butt, and then reaching for your toes and stretching out your legs. But you want to stay in the angel or the catcher's position for as long as you can to get the implants out of your legs. So about a half hour or 40 minutes of that exercise is what helped me out, giving myself sporadic breaks from time to time when needed. So this worked for a little while, using the elevated prone position and also the angel position, and also stretching my legs by reaching for my toes. That seemed to help with most, if not all, of the implants for a long time. And then the pain returned, like I said, on the outer part of my calf, right around the base of my calf muscle, but it was on the side of the leg. So I could not figure out what I was doing wrong. So I realized that I needed something to put pressure on my legs, because what I wanted to do, what these implants felt like, was that I had to sit flat on my backside. I had to sit with my ankles pointing out in this manner. And it felt good to take my hands, my palms, and push down on the sides of my calves with my ankles facing up and my toes pointed out. That is a difficult position for many people to maintain. If you are into meditation, you know the traditional meditation position is to sit almost Indian style, but you don't cross your legs. The backs of both of your legs remain flat on the floor. But as you see, your legs are always bending in. You are taking your legs and you are bending your knees inward. And so your joints and your tendons are never being exercised in the opposite way. So I would even get a pillow or a couple of pillows to sit on so that I could point my toes out and have my ankles facing up. But to be honest with you, that was a painful position to maintain, especially when you have these military agents attached to you with their hip and knee replacements. But you understand the idea that very seldomly do we get into a position where our legs and our joints are being stretched out instead of being stretched in. So it is very easy for the implants to form in your joints and on the sides of your leg. So I figured out that I needed something to put pressure on the backs and the sides of my legs, because it was hard to do that naturally. So I decided to use a mattress, and I would pull a mattress on top of my legs while I was laying on my stomach. And by doing that, I could put more pressure on the sides and the backs of my legs. But you want to be careful when you do this so that you do not injure your bones. When you cross your legs and then put a weight on top of them like a mattress, you want to be careful that you don't injure yourself. You don't want to fracture a bone or hurt yourself. So be careful when you do this. But if you lie flat on your stomach and you bring up one of your legs so that it is crossed underneath the leg that you are leaving stretched out, you could put pressure onto your ankle and the side of your calf area like this. So you can first practice this without a mattress and see if that will work. I do not even have a name for this position. It's just crossing your legs while in a prone position. So this exercise helps, but what helped even more was having some added weight. So a mattress from a twin-sized bed seemed to work very well. Another thing that you could do is twist your legs by bringing your left leg over your right one. And then if you could manage, you bring your right leg over your left one. So you bring your left leg over your right one. Then you take your right leg and bring it over your left one so that your legs are kind of twisted and the outside of your left leg is pressed against the outside of your right leg. Some people may have a problem doing this, but if you could manage doing this and then pull the mattress on top of your leg with the mattress onto your legs, this puts a lot of pressure onto your lower legs. But if you could manage doing this while under a mattress, that will put a lot of pressure onto the outside, onto the sides of your lower legs. So once again, experiment with your own positions. I'm sure many of you could come up with a dozen more on your own. That is all yoga is putting yourself into different positions to put pressure onto your joints and your bones so that you could get rid of this plasma energy that builds up into implants, tumors, arthritis, and all sorts of medical conditions. So I want to bring up now that one of the basic things taught in yoga is massaging yourself, especially where you are having pain. So they have these handheld rollers that are designed for acupressure and massage. They look kind of like this. This in fact is a pizza roller. It's a miniature pizza roller, but they have stuff that is a lot better than this. Or you just use your knuckles and rake them up and down your calf muscle. If you're watching TV, whenever possible, go ahead and massage the irritated area and massage the whole area around the irritated area. Massage your ankles, massage your feet, massage your toes, massage your knees, because oftentimes these implants build up like a network, like a web, and so by loosening up the entire area, it will be easier to remove the worst implants. So if my legs are giving me a real hard time, I might do that in a shower using soap, because that makes it easier to really press down and work the whole area. If you go get a professional massage, they use massage oil for that purpose. So consider doing something like that. Also, what is very important is something that is called acupressure. Oftentimes, if you are having a problem with a certain area of your body, just by putting your hands on that irritated area for about a half hour will help loosen up that area and relieve pain. If you press on pressure points or on certain tendons or muscles, wherever you are having problems, that is called acupressure. If you just lay your hands on a certain area that is irritated, that is something like acupressure. Sometimes that works even better if you leave it there for a half hour. But acupressure is sometimes better than acupuncture because the living energy of your hands will interact with the irritated area on your body. Let's say your knee, for example. So do not ever forget that massage and acupressure is very important in yoga and removing these implants. It is sometimes better than acupuncture, which is taking the needle and going right for a pressure point or a nerve. Oftentimes, you could find these nerves or these highly sensitive areas by just massaging the whole area. And you'll find the sensitive area often because there is an implant forming there. So the last thing I found out is one of the most important positions in removing implants from your lower legs, and that is getting into a supine position, which means flat on your back. So oftentimes people do not get into a supine position because they are used to sleeping on their sides or on their stomach, and when it comes to meditating, they just get used to doing the same. So they rarely meditate in a supine position. And when they get into a supine position, flat on their back, on a floor, they find that it irritates them and they do not want to do it for long. And the reason that is irritating is due to the fact that you have implants all in your legs, in your hips, and in your knees. There are many implants that get into people's joints, into their hips, and into their knees that cannot be removed in any position but the supine position. That is key to understanding. You can meditate for years, but unless you lay flat on your back and lift from your knees and meditate flat on your back on the floor and work on breathing deep and pulling from your knees, you will not be able to remove certain implants that form in your legs. That is the only way you could do it from a supine position. I was going through a lot of pain in my legs, and that was due to the fact that I was not being able to remove these implants until I began meditating in a supine position and lifting from my knees and from my sacral chakra point. So you will feel the pressure. You will feel the aching pain on your knees when you get into a supine position on a hard floor. Get a carpet. Put a blanket on the carpet, but make sure you meditate in a supine position on the floor. And you do that at least until the agitation begins to subside and the pressure in your knees and in your joints begins to subside. I keep a mattress without a bed frame, without a box spring in my room because that is easiest to move around. But if it's easy for you just to pull the mattress off the top of your bed, you could do that too. And you could pull the mattress over your legs while you are in a supine position, and that will put the weight onto your joints, and that will help you lift these implants in your butt, in your hips, in your thighs, and most importantly in your knees. There is a huge amount of people with knee replacements, especially in the military, due to the military using radio frequency energy on everybody, especially everybody in the military. And a side effect of using the radio frequency energy technology is the buildup of implants. And the implants will form in people's joints. And these implants release acid, or a side effect of these implants is to cause your body to release acid around your joints that dissolve your joints and give people bad joints, bad knees, bad hips, bad ankles. It causes arthritis. There's no way to prove the US military is using this top secret radio frequency technology on people. So it's hard to get them to stop. So it's up to you to exercise more, to stretch more, to use these yoga and meditation techniques to get these implants out of your body before they are used to wound or kill you. This technology is a giant blessing for the military. This is the epitome of the highest technology in weaponry. This is how they torture and kill people without ever declaring a war or arresting you. All they have to do is move in next door, flip a switch, and in a matter of weeks, you will have these implants building up in your lungs, in your heart, in your brain, and in all your joints. So this is what we are forced to deal with if we want to survive with the current regime, with the current U.S. military in control of this top secret radio frequency weaponry. The last thing that you could do while in a supine position is to put your legs into a diamond position so that both of your feet are flat against each other. You could try doing that on the floor and try to put your knees as flat against the floor as possible. And you could practice bringing your heels up toward your pelvis more. And this all puts pressure on your knees, your ankles, and your hips. Then you want to take a mattress and pull the mattress onto your legs while you are in this position, and it will hurt. You will feel the ache very much with this exercise. So try to do it for at least a minute before stretching your legs out a little bit. This will be a lot of pressure on your joints, especially if you're not limber and not used to stretching your legs. That is also very important in removing leg implants, is stretching your legs in the traditional sense of reaching out to your toes. You can also flip over onto your stomach with your legs in a diamond position and pull the mattress over the back of your legs while in a prone position, and work hard breathing all the way in and lifting from your legs, from your hips, from your knees, breathing all the way in and lifting from your ankles. And if that is hard to do, you want to lift from your sacrum. Breathe all the way down to your sacrum and pull from your pelvis and sacrum area. That will help. You can also cross your legs. Once again, experiment with bending your legs in all different positions that you could think of, with the added pressure of being under a mattress. Any way that you could stretch your legs and put weight on the joints may help remove a different implant. The last thing I want to say is to remind you, when these implants feel rigid because the energy is being reversed on an agent connected to you, you are going to feel whatever is wrong with these agents. It will feel like you have knee replacements, like you have hip replacements, like you have plates or rods in your legs. So sometimes it is hard, it is difficult to feel the energy coming out of your legs. At other times, I guess more energy will be directed toward you and less at the agent that is connected to you. And so the implants will feel more soft and pliable. So if you have leg pain, imagine breathing all the way in, down to your legs, and imagine pulling at these implants in your calf. And oftentimes, it'll feel like a band, like a rubber band in your calf. And you want to breathe down all the way in and then lift with the U breath and see if you could imagine plucking the band, even if there is no implant in you, but you could sense this mutual implant. Most often you are sensing what is in the agent. If you could pull from the different sensitive areas in your leg, it'll feel like you're plucking a band or a guitar string. That's the only way I could put it. You are going to remove the implant. Even if it is not formed in you, it's formed in somebody around you. So if you are experiencing some irritation in your calf, attempt to do what I'm trying to explain. Breathe all the way into that area and try to pluck the guitar string in that area. Try to move that implant a little bit. And if you could do that for an hour or two, you will not feel any more pain for the rest of the day. So even though it may feel that there's nothing inside of you, the military is going to make it very difficult if you fail to meditate anyway. When the heat is on, you should meditate for 5 hours every morning. That is what you should do. That is what we're up against. If you do not do that, they will make life very difficult for you. The best thing to do while meditating is to not let your mind wander. Do not let your brain succumb to triggers so that you're daydreaming while meditating. You want to try to clear your mind and focus on your breath, going all the way down your spine, into your pelvis, into your legs, and then lifting from the irritated area, lifting from the irritated or infected area. Even if you do not have an implant formed in you and you feel a stabbing pain in your leg in a certain area, I assure you, you're going to get an implant there sooner or later. So take my advice. Work on clearing that area by going through the motions, even though it may not feel like a lot of plasma is being removed from that area. What the military will also do is just attempt to irritate, let's say, your right leg, and all along they'll be attaching agents to you who have problems in their left leg, who have problems in their other leg, but they are told, do not do anything that will irritate the left leg. They are given painkillers. They are told, do not do anything to alert this guy that you have something wrong with your left leg. And all the while, another agent, someone else, will go out of his or her way to press or irritate an implant in their right leg. So if you put all your focus just on the right leg, they could get implants to form in your left leg. So even though your right leg may be the one bothering you, you don't want to spend a majority of the time just on that leg. Spend an hour or two at most, and then meditate on the different areas of your body, focusing on the joints, your elbows, your shoulders, your fingers, your hands, and your wrists. Because if you are exercising, if you are doing push-ups, you do not want to let these implants form in your shoulder or in your elbows, because eventually they can cause an accident. The last thing I want to mention is that I do not want any of you to fall into an exercise program and where you feel the need to do the same thing every time. So let me explain this with a very important example. I was using a barbell to do shoulder presses. For a while it was very easy. I had 15 pounds on each side, and I lifted this from an Indian style position. So when you have nothing bracing your back, you do not want to lift any more than this, especially if you're going for high reps. So I was doing shoulder and chest presses, and I would do 150 to 170 reps, and it was easy for a while because of who they had around. Just the other day, they decided to hook the Olympic weightlifting team to me, and their job was to sit in the gym and use the Nautilus equipment and do the reverse exercise of whatever I was doing. So they were using the Nautilus, and they were stacking the weight on, and they were doing pull downs, and they were doing upper body pull downs while I was lifting this thing up. So it became a lot more difficult, and that is how they cause injuries in the gym. They get people used to lifting a certain amount of weight or doing it for a certain amount of reps, and then one day they use this radio frequency energy technology to provide resistance when you go to lift this, usually by doing the opposite motion of what you are doing. This will lock up your joints and will cause an accident or an injury. So when I realized that they were doing this, I said to myself, I'm going to do 4 or 5 sets of 50 instead of lifting this up 160 or 170 times in a row like I usually do. I'll do 50, then set it down for a minute, then do 50 more a minute or 2 later, and then do 50 more a minute or 2 later. And I ended up doing more reps than I usually do. I did not do them all at once, but the fact remains, I did more reps than I usually do, period. I did more reps than I usually do. So they could play their little game and I'll beat them. If I am used to jogging for 3 miles and they decide to hook everybody in the military with knee implants to me one day so that it is very hard to move my legs, I'm going to beat them by going for a series of short jogs, a half mile up the street and back every day instead of going for one long jog every week or twice a week. Whatever they're going to do to counteract my exercise routine, I'm going to counteract them by changing it up. If they want to provide more resistance, I'm smart enough to recognize what they are doing and to decrease the weight or the amount of repetitions because I know what they are trying to do, which is injure me. That is what the military likes to do. They like to injure civilians. They like to kill their targets. And they even like to injure their own people. They even like to blow up their own people. That is what the military does most, is they injure everybody, including their own people. So if they got some big tough weightlifter over there in the military, and he's the toughest guy in the gym, sooner or later, they're going to do something so he rips his shoulder out. Then they have another fat, angry psychopath with nothing to live for. They'll even injure their own people to get to everyone else. That is how they create a lot of lifers who are involved in spying and torturing other people. Then, when they're not working out, when they're not feeling good about themselves, when they're not getting paid as much as they used to get paid because they can no longer perform their job after the injury, the only thing they have is a jealous, pissed off psycho. And that jealous, pissed off psycho will do anything to make you like him. He can't wait to show you what it's like to rip your shoulder out. And then you'll be just like him. And that is the reason why he does what he does. His lifestyle may be ugly. He may do some dirt, but he knows why he does dirt. And it gives him great satisfaction to show you why he made the right choice to do what he does by injuring you. And if you are not part of the military, if you do not work for the MK Ultra program, the next step is for these guys to attack you and kill you using these implants. So do not become a fool and a slave to your own workout program. Understand, their business in the military is to cause injuries, death, and destruction. That is their business. That is their science. That is the only reason that they exist. If you usually do 100 reps and you are feeling strain at number 65 or 70, I want you to stop and do less reps that day. You have to outsmart these guys because there's only one you. But the military combs the country looking for low IQ, angry retards to train to be used against you. There is one more position that I would like to bring up, and that is you lie on your back. And by lying on your back, you could then use your hands to grip your calves or grip your ankles. And that is like acupressure. You want to breathe all the way in and then lift from your ankles and then lift from your legs. And you breathe all the way out until you cannot breathe out anymore. And you try to do that for an hour. at least an hour. So you are combining meditating in a supine position and acupressure to lift implants out of your calves and lower legs. So if you do not get these implants out of your leg, it may be dangerous to go to one of their hospitals and complain of leg pain because they may misdiagnose you. So what is funny is on the internet, I was looking up causes for lower leg pain, and they have on the Google's front page that is probably due to you exercising too much. So I know that they may mean that you pulled a muscle, but I think it is hilarious when the military has armies of overweight people involved in MK Ultra with all sorts of joint problems. They are so fat that their legs are buckling out and their knees are collapsing. And these are the people that are causing these implants to build up in others. And if you look it up on the internet, trying to figure out what illness you may have, they'll tell you it's due to exercising too much. So you may want to take it easy and go get some McDonald's or something because you may be exercising too much. I have also heard them say that it's because of sciatica. The sciatic nerve is the largest nerve that runs down, I think, your entire leg. So they'll also tell you that the nerve is inflamed if you have these implants in your leg. Then I knew a guy when I was around 17, and I would say that he was probably in his early 20s, and he was overweight. He was around 6 feet tall, but he weighed probably over 300, and he had a blood clot in his leg. So one of his legs swelled up because he had a problem with the water and the fluid building up in his leg because the blood clot prevented the proper circulation in his leg. So he had to have angioplasty, I think is the pronunciation. And that is a surgery where they cut open the vein or the artery and they install a balloon, a medical balloon. I guess it's like a capsule that is filled with fluid, and they put it near the vein or the artery, and that helps the blood flow so that the blood clot does not prevent the proper circulation of blood. So if they connect a guy like that to you, you just may form an implant around the same area that he has his blood clot. So a blood clot may form in you. So when that happened to him, the leg that had the blood clot swelled up a lot. It was like almost twice the size as the other leg. So I am telling you to get these implants out in these methods that I am describing. Because if you go to their hospital, they're never going to tell you the real reason these implants or tumors are developing in the American people. And if you have leg pain, it just may be because you are exercising or stretching your legs too much. So in October of 2020, I had been running or jogging twice a week for about 3 years now. And I had worked up to about a 3-mile jog. And there are about 4 hills along this jog. So I was not running on flat land, but I kind of worked up to that. So everything was fine. And then one night, I met my ex-wife and my 2 daughters over at a sports supply store so that we could buy a new softball bat. So as soon as we walked in there, I felt a pain in both of my calf muscles. And it felt like an aching sensation right on the pressure point that is located about 3 inches under the knee, on the lateral side, kind of in the muscle. I spoke about this in an earlier video in this series. There is a pressure point right there, and you can feel that pressure point by stretching your legs from a seated position on the floor. So I felt a terrible pain, as if I was doing these extreme stretching exercises in both of my legs at once. So there was this terrible ache in each of these pressure points, in my calf muscle on the side of my leg, about 3 inches underneath my knee. And after about 10 minutes, that was replaced with a stabbing pain, like someone was taking a blunt instrument and pressing as hard as they could into that nerve or pressure point. So from my experience with dealing with this MK Ultra program, I knew exactly what they were doing. They had left me alone for a couple of months and then attached an agent to me who at first was stretching and then after that began to press on an extreme pressure point. And that is the worst on your leg when you're trying to walk around and do something. So I had a little bit of an implant formed in both of my legs. So if they start doing this to you, it's important to learn how to stand correctly and put pressure back on these implants that are connected to these psycho agents. So what you want to do is stand with your feet shoulder width apart, and you want to lock your knees. You don't have to flex them. Just make sure that they are locked. They are fully back. Make sure that you are not bending your knee at all. Then you want to press your backside out a little bit, and you will feel the pressure going on your knees, especially toward the back of your knees. So the next day or two, I got the worst of it out. But if I went to the ER and complained of a stabbing sensation in my leg, who knows what they would diagnose me with and what medications they would prescribe. So you got to be real careful when dealing with these implants and use these techniques to remove the worst of it out of your legs. Because if you do not, they can cause severe pain so that it may become difficult to walk. And if you let these implants continue to build up, they could handicap you and potentially cause blood clots to form. So use these techniques to get the implants out, because they're not going to help you with an implant if you go to your doctor or the ER. In many cases, it's the establishment that got these things to form in people. They are going to be of little help at the hospital. So unless you could see something is wrong with you, such as discoloration, swelling, I would be very careful if you go to your doctor or go to the hospital. I would try to get the thing out myself and heal myself before going to them. So I explained this in part 6 and part 7. But implants will often develop like a network of implants. And for example, they'll form in your hip and attach to an implant in your knee, which will attach to an implant in your ankle. So your whole leg will be affected by these larger implants that will form in key parts of your body. So it will be like a web that affects your whole leg. So it would be smart to do acupressure and massage techniques to your whole leg, starting from your hip and doing all the way down to your ankle and foot. Now it's always best to exercise right before you do your yoga and deep breathing exercises. So if you are having problems with implants in your legs, the best thing to do is to go for a short jog right before you do your yoga. So I would run for just a quarter mile or just up the street and back, and that should be good. And if you have an implant, you could detect and remove it better after you've done some physical exercise. So a side note is this: I started jogging back in 2017, and on my road there are 4 good-sized hills. So I worked up to about a 3-mile jog, and after a year or 2, I would go for this long jog, and I would feel great afterwards. Get back and just take a shower and continue with the rest of my day. So at some point, the military began attaching a lot of people with injuries to me, and most of these injuries are found along people's joints. So as I would go for my run, I would feel something like my hips and my knees become very rigid. So it was hard to take a regular size stride. So I'll be taking these short steps. So of course what they were trying to do was to cause these implants to form in my joints, like in my hips and my knees, so they could later cause an injury. So what I decided to do was start going for shorter jogs just up one of the hills. It was like a quarter mile there and back, and then do some stretching and yoga exercises directly after my run. For a while, I would go for a 3-mile run, get back, and just take a shower and continue with the rest of my day. So now I think it's better after you do exercise to do your yoga, deep breathing, and stretching exercises, especially if you're having problems with your joints. If you ever see these big weightlifters in the gym, a lot of them could barely move around. Their bodies become rigid and they move around almost like robots. And this is caused by them working out too much and never doing stretching, deep breathing, or yoga exercises. Just because you are big and you develop a lot of muscles does not mean that you have to lose agility and walk around like a Frankenstein. The reason they move like this is due to the fact that they all get joint problems because they do these heavy exercises and they never do yoga, deep breathing, or stretching afterwards. And over a period of months or years, they will begin to form these implants in their joints. And that is the same thing that happens to those who are into long distance running. They do not get so big, but they get the same problem with these implants that are forming in their joints. And when they start to get older, they are prone to injury, and many of them have to get knee and hip replacements. So after doing physical exercise, whether it be weightlifting or running, you want to do yoga, stretching, and deep breathing exercises directly afterwards, focusing on your joints as you do this, because joints are going to be the first things to become affected by these radio frequency weapons. Part of the desired effect of these radio frequency weapons is that they cause things to build up in people's bodies, and these are called implants. And you're not going to find any information about this on the internet, but some of these implants are like tumors. Some of them are buildups of minerals like calcium, and when these implants build up in your joints, they form into something like arthritis. Osteoarthritis causes cartilage that covers the ends of bones to break down. Uric acid crystals, which form when there's too much uric acid in your blood. So with joint disease like arthritis, it is caused when minerals and acids kind of build up in the joint area, and it eats away at the cartilage, and it causes the joint to break down. So if you're having any type of joint pain or difficulty with your joints, the best supplement that you could take is fish oil. And if you have joint problems, a theory of mine is to not take any amino acid supplements. I would not take a bunch of amino acids or multi-minerals as a supplement. If you're having joint problems, I would not take a bunch of calcium supplements if you're having joint problems, because a side effect or a desired effect of the government using these radio frequency weapons is that they cause tumors and things to build up like calcium deposits and probably other mineral deposits. So a theory of mine is that you don't want to take what's called amino acid supplements. They are multi-minerals, because that might add to these deposits that form in your joints and places like around your pineal gland. What I would take for joints is fish oil supplements. So when you hear of radio frequency energy, the reason that they call it radio frequency energy has to do with it radiating particles. That's when you hear that something is radioactive, means that it is emitting particles, and oftentimes could cause cancers and tumors to build up in people. If they're subject to high levels of radiation, people are prone to cancers and tumors. And that is exactly what is happening when the military is blasting people with radio frequency energy. So you cannot find a lot of information about this on the internet, but there are reports of these growths being found in people that contain metals and even fiber optics, as well as stuff like keratin, which are what your fingernails are made out of. It is the key structural material, making up scales, hair, nails, feathers, horns, claws. So these tumors are composed of many different things, and your body has a natural system of fighting these things off. And you can help your body by remaining physically fit, exercising every day, and directly after exercise, using yoga, stretching, and deep breathing exercises to help consciously remove these diseases and these foreign objects in your body before they develop into something like a tumor, a disease, or a cancer. So this is what the military is using to control people, to monitor them and control them. They become something like antennas or receivers that the military can manipulate with radio frequency energy. And they find that these things build up in people who are extremely unhealthy. They're overweight, they smoke, they live in an unhealthy environment, like an old house where there is mold growing, and their pulmonary system, their cardiovascular system, and their vascular system are all affected, and they get these networks of implants to form all over their body. So they become something like a human robot. They become something that could be steered around like a remote controlled robot. And the only thing that is your defense against this is to keep your body healthy, exercise, and start understanding what I'm telling you in the Under Fire video series, which is that you can detect these tumors when they are starting to form, and you could use your body's energy system to remove them before they become a problem. So I explained this in an earlier part of the series. You could use something like rolling pins to put pressure on the outside of your leg, right around your joints, while you lay on your side. You can also use them while you are in a prone or elevated prone position to put added pressure on the implants, such as in your calves. If you could feel something in your leg, but it's hard to kind of isolate it, you could use something like a tennis ball or this rolling pin to place under your leg where the implant is, and that may help put some added pressure on it so that you can lift it out. It's often the same thing as acupressure or pressing on a pressure point. Again, this is what they do in acupuncture. Another is to use a styrofoam rolling pin. They sell these in most sports equipment stores. So you can also use it to put pressure on the side of your calf. So for example, if you want to put pressure on your right calf, you put half of the roller underneath your left ankle, like this. Then, positioning it diagonally, put the other half over your right calf, and then press down on the right side of the rolling pin to put pressure on the outer side of your right leg. You want to make sure the outer side of your right foot is pointed up like this, and that will help put pressure on the outside of your legs. Then for your feet, like I said, I've been developing this system as I go along, so I do not know all the best exercises and yoga positions as of yet. Yet I wanted to upload this video to tell you what I knew about removing implants in your legs. So if any of you can figure out a better way to put pressure on your feet during yoga and meditation, make sure to make your own videos and let us all know what you figured out. But for now, the only ones that I came up with so far is the elevated prone position. That seems to put a lot of weight on your feet, especially if you cross your feet. It seems to work on a mattress sometimes better than just doing the elevated prone position on a hard floor. Then the angel position puts weight on your ankles and your toes. So if you have difficulty getting into the angel position, then use something like the styrofoam roller under your knees, and you could put pressure on your toes and the front of your feet. You could also bring your foot up to your chest, and you do that by sitting on one of your knees like this, and you stretch the other leg out. Then by bringing that extended leg in, you can then lean over onto your foot using your arms and the weight of your upper body to put pressure on your foot, like I explained before. You can also lie flat in a prone position, and by crossing your knee out in front of your body, you can put pressure on your foot by using your stomach. You could also use the mattress just to put weight on your feet and lower legs while you are in a prone position. And of course, you want to do all of this after going for a short jog or doing a physical exercise such as calf raises. And you could do calf raises on something like a step such as this. You could put on shoes, then by placing one foot onto the other foot and then using one of your legs to lift your body weight up, using the step as something like the fulcrum. You want to raise your body up by pressing down on the front of your foot and push off with your toes to do a calf raise. And if that is too much, of course, you could do calf raises using both of your feet at once. And after you have worked out your legs, you want to do yoga, stretching, and deep breathing exercises directly after. So of course, walking or jogging ends up putting a lot of pressure on your feet. So I do not want to say that because of this, implants will not develop in your feet. But walking, running, or jogging will definitely help because you're always putting pressure onto your feet. But afterwards, it is going to be best to do yoga with a focus on your ankles and your feet by breathing and imagining your breath going all the way down your leg into your ankle and foot, and then using the U breath described in part 2 to lift from your foot and ankle area. It will take some concentration and practice, but by clearing your mind and imagining your breath going all the way down your leg into your foot and then focusing on lifting from your foot and your ankle using the U breath, you will remove any implants that will build up in your foot area. It's just going to take some practice and a lot of concentration, and that means clearing your mind and focusing just on your breathing and on your foot or whatever area you need to focus on. So one more time, your lower body will be a little more of a challenge getting used to because it's more difficult to put pressure on the lower parts of your body and put the focus on lifting the implant out of something so remote as your foot. Last, you should never go for a run or exercise in an angry state of mind. The best thing to do is clear your mind and relax. In other words, you don't want to think about anything that is stressing you out or is making you angry, because if you focus on that, you're just going to get more angry, and that is not going to help get these implants and this energy out of your system. In some cases, it may even cause these implants to form in your body. So clear your mind, relax, and focus on breathing deep. Focus on breathing and lifting out of your legs and your feet as you go for a run. That is what you want to put your focus on. Don't think about troubling things while you exercise. That will not help. If you're going for a run, look up at the sky. Look at the mountains in the distance. Look at the treetops. You don't need to focus on whatever is giving you stress or making you angry. You want to focus just on your breathing and focus on breathing into the area where you may have the implant. What you also must do when exercising is to focus on your form. So when you're running, you want to focus on extending your legs. If you were on the track team, they would say try to kick your legs out to increase your stride. You want to land on the front of your foot, and you want to concentrate that you do not favor one side of your body over the other. And that means you don't want to land with more force and more weight on your right side of your body. You want to make sure you are using both of your legs with equal strength. You want to make sure you are using both of your legs in a full range of motion. When I run, the favorite thing that these people do is use these energy systems to freeze up my ankles and my hips so that it is very hard to run. So you end up taking little short strides, especially if you're running for longer distances. So always focus on your form and make sure that you are using the full range of motion of both of your legs. Do not run like a flat foot by slapping the street with a flat foot. Land on the front of your foot and then use your ankle and the front of your foot to do a calf raise and push off with your toes on every step. You want to land on the front of your foot. You do not want to run with flat feet. That is why it is better to go for shorter runs, focusing on your form and every part of your leg, than to go for these long runs, especially with these idiots attaching people with injuries to you. Every time you want to go for a run, they are trying to injure your joints. And then after your run, do yoga, stretching and deep breathing exercises. So acupressure or massage is also important with your feet. So you can massage your feet and find pressure points, like on the top of your feet. There seems to be a pressure point on your foot, on the center of the top of the foot. It's between the tendons, and also all along the tendon that runs from the top of your foot into your big toe. If you're trying to remove implants out of your legs, I would recommend alternating between the elevated prone position to the supine position breathing in as deep as you can, and lifting from your knees. Once again, you want to breathe in as deep as you can until you cannot inhale anymore. Until you cannot inhale anymore. And then you want to lift from your knees and exhale until you cannot exhale anymore. If you are having trouble inhaling through your nose, you could take a deep breath using your mouth, then close your mouth and exhale through your nose. I often do this if I have something like a sinus infection, or if I am in the elevated prone position and the military agents that are connected to me are taking a full breath very difficult. You could inhale through your mouth, then close your mouth, then finish off with a U breath, the same way you usually would. The same thing with running. You want to try to breathe in and out through your nose, but it's okay to breathe through your mouth. Just focus on closing your mouth after you inhale, and then finish off with the U breath by lifting a little bit using your tongue. Then relax your tongue and exhale completely through your nose, focusing on sending the energy up and out through the top of your head. When you are exhaling, imagine yourself exhaling out and up. Imagine yourself exhaling up. That is called breathing up. You inhale all the way, and as you are exhaling, you want to imagine the air going up and out the top of your head through your crown chakra point. That is called breathing up or exhaling up. You inhale all the way, you lift using the U breath, and then you exhale out the top of your head, and you will feel a great deal of energy going out of your crown chakra point. And the last exercise is what I explained at the beginning of this video, and that is when you are lying in the bathtub and you are on your back and your head is halfway in the water. The water is up around your ears, and you are gripping your ankles or your calves, and you are breathing all the way in. And then when you exhale, you are exhaling up all the way out and listening to sense the energy moving out to the top of your head. By doing that, you will understand why it is important to breathe fully and correctly, and exactly what I mean when I discuss moving this energy out of your system. You could also do this. You could also do this in a supine position, just on the floor, or in your bed, or on a sofa. And by getting into this position, you could use your hands to grip your calves, your ankles, and your feet. You can use your hands to do acupressure on your legs, ankles, and feet. You don't need to be underwater or in the bathtub while you do this. You can also do this on the floor or anywhere. I told you to do that just so you could begin to sense the amount of energy that will move through your system and why it is important to breathe correctly, inhaling all the way and then exhaling all the way out through your crown chakra point. The last thing that I am going to mention is very important, and it is an exercise that you will do when standing up. Recently, my mom came to visit, and her favorite thing to do is to go antiquing or go check out the stores in the area. So as I was walking around with my mom and my brother, the agents tried to make standing completely unbearable by pressing as hard as they could on their knees and on the pressure point in their outer calf while they were connected to me. It became extremely painful for me to stand there. So if they start doing this to you, it's important to learn how to stand correctly and put pressure back on these implants that are connected to these psycho agents. So what you want to do is stand with your feet shoulder width apart, and you want to lock your knees. You don't have to flex them. Just make sure that they are locked. They are fully back. Make sure that you are not bending your knee at all. Then you want to press your backside out a little bit, and you will feel the pressure going on your knees, especially toward the back of your knees. And you will feel these mutual implants that I believe are connected to agents who have all had knee replacement surgeries. So I think there are a few videos on the internet that show knee replacement surgeries. And what they do is they cut off the cartilage and the tips of the bone in the femur and the tibia. Then they drill into the tibia and they install a rod into the tibia. And then they cap both the tibia and the femur with a metal plate. And then they add a plastic pad between the metal plates. And that is what half the people in the military get. And a great deal of this is caused due to the radiation and the practices of the U.S. military as they practice their MK Ultra mind and soma control over the American people and all their idiots, these agents of the MK Ultra program and in the federal government. So for a long time, all they needed to do was cause these implants to build up in people's chests, in their throats, in their cerebellum, in their cerebrum. And that was enough to scare the hell out of them, to the point that they would walk out to an area to get tortured and killed by these psychotic idiots in the U.S. military under the guise of science, the occult, and population control concerning mind and soma control. When people learn to remove these implants from these key vital areas and do not fall victim to these teams of military lunatics, they then have for you implants that will affect your legs. It's no longer mind control. It is now soma control. They want to make it so it's hard to work. It's hard to exercise. It's hard to walk. It's hard to stand out in public with your family members. So if you are out in public and these agents with hip and knee replacements all decide to start torturing your legs, remember what I said. Stand up straight, lock your knees, but don't flex them, and push out with your backside a little bit until you feel the pressure on the implants in your knees. It'll feel like an aching sensation on the tops of your calves and a little bit in your thighs. And it is a way to stretch your legs and your joints without having to go sit down or get on the floor and start stretching. Stand straight, lock your knees, and press your backside out a little bit to put pressure on all of these implants in your legs, and focus on breathing as deep as you can. And that will help you get through those tough times. And you will begin to realize the importance of exercising and then using these yoga techniques to get these implants out of your legs. So when you see these military agents involved in these MK Ultra operations, they have these network of implants all throughout their body. And by using these implants against other people, they begin to solidify in these agents. They are constantly bombarded with this radio energy that radiates particles, and their bodies become fused with fiber optics, foreign metals, proteins, keratin, minerals. If you get close to some of them and you smell their breath when they are talking, you smell nothing but metal and plastic. They have become synthetic humans, and their only wish and their only desire and their only driving force is to control you and cause you to suffer. They want to use this technology to wipe out a huge percentage of the US population, of the world's population, and have the world governed by these military agents with these radioactive tumors that act like transmitter receivers. They get so many of these implants built up in their bodies. These people look like victims of nuclear radiation. Their heads are deformed. Their backs are deformed. They act and they stink like robots. If you ever bought a new stereo or a DVD player and you open up the box and you catch a whiff of all the electronics, the smell of the circuitry, that is the exact same smell that comes out of these people's faces. They are being fused with these tumors that contain metals, fiber optics, proteins, minerals, keratin. It's a race of radioactive people